Buying a used car from a private seller is one of the smartest ways to save money on a vehicle. No dealership markup, no pressure tactics, no added fees, just two people making a deal. But it also comes with real risks, and every single year, thousands of buyers lose money, get stuck with a wrecked car they didn't know was wrecked, or hand cash to someone they'll never see again. Today we're going to make sure that doesn't happen to you. I'm going to walk you through some of the major scams, red flags, and the smart moves you should make from the moment you find a listing all the way to the moment you drive that car home. Let's start at the beginning. Online listings. Most private party sales start on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. These are legitimate platforms with real sellers, but they're also playgrounds for scammers because anyone can post anything with zero verification. The first thing to look for is a price that's significantly below market value. Not a good deal, an impossible deal. A well-maintained 2020 Honda Accord going for $7,000. A low-mileage truck for $9,000. When a price makes you stop and say, "Wait, really?" That's not luck, that's bait. Here's the script these scammers follow almost word for word. You reach out and they respond quickly. They seem friendly, and then comes the excuse. They're out of state for work, or they're deployed overseas, or they're going through a divorce and just need to sell fast. Sometimes they say they'll ship the car to you. Other times they just want you to send them a small deposit to hold the car for you. Zelle, Cash App, wire transfer, whatever. You send the money, and then they're gone. The car was never real. The photos were stolen from another listing. You just lost everything you sent. The rule is simple. If a seller cannot meet you in person, you do not send a single dollar. There is no legitimate reason a real seller needs payment before you've laid eyes on the car. None. A tip that can help in some occasions. Before you even message anyone, do a quick reverse image search on the listing photos. Right-click, search image. If those photos appear on other listings, other websites, or stock photo databases, you've already caught them. Move on. Meeting the seller. So the listing checks out. The seller seems real. Now you want to go look at the car. Before you go anywhere, let's talk about how to do this safely, because meeting a stranger with a pocket full of cash is not something you want to do without thinking it through. Not yet. Do not go alone. Bring someone with you. A friend, a sibling, a neighbor. It doesn't matter. Just bring a person. And if that person happens to know anything about cars, a mechanic, a gearhead friend, anyone with some mechanical sense, even better. They're going to catch things you won't. 2 sets of eyes on the car and 2 people in the parking lot changes everything about how a scammer or bad actor sees you as a target. Choose to meet them in daytime, never when it's dark or when it's about to get dark. Meet at a spot that's busy and public, a shopping center parking lot, a busy gas station, somewhere with foot traffic and security cameras. Avoid going to the seller's home for a first visit if you can help it. Here's one a lot of people don't know about. Many police departments across the country have designated safe transaction zones, usually a marked spot in their parking lot specifically for buying and selling things like cars, electronics, and other valuables. Search your city's name and safe exchange zone and see what comes up. A legitimate seller won't bat an eye at meeting at a police station. Someone with bad intentions will find a reason to cancel. And leave the cash at home for now. You're going to look first. Don't show up to a first meeting carrying what you plan to pay. Inspecting the car. You're there. The car looks good at a glance. Now slow down, because this is where a lot of buyers get too excited and start making emotional decisions. Walk around the entire car and look at the panel gaps. The spaces between the doors, the hood, the trunk. They should be consistent and even. Uneven gaps often mean a panel has been replaced after a collision. Look at the paint under bright light for any overspray, color mismatches, or texture differences. Signs of a repaint that wasn't disclosed. Get low and look underneath for rust, especially around the frame rails and wheel wells. Surface rust on old brake lines or undercarriage components is common, but heavy rust eating through structural metal is a deal breaker. Turn the air conditioner on and let it run at full blast for at least 5 minutes. Make sure it's working as it should. Always check the fluids because they can reveal how well the vehicle was maintained and whether expensive problems may be hiding. Start with the engine oil. Pull the dipstick and make sure the level is correct. The oil isn't extremely black, sludgy, milky, or gritty, since milky oil can indicate coolant mixing from serious engine issues. Check the coolant in the reservoir for proper level and make sure it looks clean, not rusty, oily, or muddy. Inspect transmission fluid, if applicable, and look for a healthy red or light brown color without a burnt smell or dark debris. Check brake fluid level and condition, making sure it isn't excessively dark or contaminated. Power steering fluid should also be at the correct level if the car uses hydraulic steering. Finally, look underneath the vehicle and around the engine bay for fresh leaks, wet spots, or residue. Dirty or neglected fluids don't always mean disaster, but they can be a warning sign that the car hasn't been cared for properly. Test drive is non-negotiable. Drive it. Not around the block, actually drive it. Get it up to highway speed, brake firmly, make sharp turns, roll the windows down and just listen. Does anything vibrate, knock, whine, or pull? Issues that hide at low speed will show themselves when you actually use the car. Now, the single best thing you can do before handing over any money is get a pre-purchase inspection, a PPI. You take the car to an independent mechanic, not one the seller recommends, one you choose, and they put it on a lift and go through everything: transmission, brakes, engine, suspension, rust, leaks, diagnostic codes. It usually costs somewhere between $100 and $150. For the protection it gives you on a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 purchase, that is nothing. If the seller tells you they can't wait, they've got another buyer, they need an answer today, that is a pressure tactic. A good car will still be there after a 2-hour inspection. Anyone rushing you away from due diligence does not have your best interests in mind. Ask for maintenance records too. Oil changes, tire rotations, major repairs. A seller who kept up with their car can usually show you some kind of history. No records at all isn't automatically a deal breaker, but it's something to factor into what you're willing to pay. Titles and title fraud. This section is important and slightly technical. The title is the legal document that proves who owns the vehicle, and it is one of the most commonly manipulated parts of a private party sale. Before you meet anyone, run the VIN. You'll find it on the dashboard through the windshield, on the driver's door jamb, and on the title itself. Plug it into Carfax, AutoCheck, or the free government database called NMVTIS. You're looking for accident history, flood damage, salvage branding, odometer rollback flags, and how many owners the car has had. Sellers sometimes roll back the odometer to make a high-mileage car look more appealing. It's illegal, and it still happens. A salvage title means an insurance company declared that vehicle a total loss at some point. It could have been a major collision, flood damage, fire, theft recovery, something bad enough that the insurer said the car wasn't worth fixing relative to its value. After repairs, it can be re-inspected and rebranded as a rebuilt title. Some people buy rebuilt title cars knowingly at a big discount, and that's a valid choice if you know what you're doing. But here's where the scam comes in. Sellers will look you in the eye and tell you the rebuilt title is from a minor fender bender. A little bumper damage, nothing serious. Don't believe it. A car does not receive a salvage title from a minor fender bender. It receives one when an insurance company has decided it is economically totaled. That means significant damage to the frame, the airbags, the structure, the powertrain. When someone tells you it was minor, what they're really telling you is they're hoping you don't know how titles work. My advice, if you're not a mechanic, if you don't have someone with you who deeply understands vehicle structure and repair, avoid rebuilt title cars. The savings sound good until you're dealing with frame flex, electrical gremlins, or airbags that won't deploy correctly. The risk is real. And if a seller is charging you clean title prices on a rebuilt title car, walk away. That is outright fraud. There's also a scheme called title washing. A scammer takes a salvage-branded car and re-registers it in a different state that doesn't recognize the branding, and suddenly the car has a clean title on paper. It looks completely legitimate. A thorough VIN history check across multiple databases is your best defense here. When you're standing in front of the car, check the title in person. Make sure the VIN on the title matches the VIN on the car. Make sure the name on the title matches the seller's ID. If those things don't line up, you could be buying a stolen vehicle or dealing with someone who doesn't legally own what they're selling. And if the seller doesn't have the title on them, doesn't have it in hand, ready to sign over, don't buy the car. No title, no deal. Payment and check fraud. This is where deals go wrong at the last second. You've done everything right. Now it's time to pay. And this is still a moment where things can fall apart, so let's talk about how to handle it. Large amounts of cash are a security risk. If you're meeting a stranger to hand over $8,000 or $10,000 in bills, you are a target. If cash is necessary, handle it inside a bank or somewhere else that's safe, like a police station exchange zone, and don't advertise what you're carrying. Cashier's checks feel official, and real ones are perfectly fine. But as a buyer, you need to understand the risk on the other side of that transaction. If you hand a seller a legitimate cashier's check and they dispute it, claim it never arrived, or disappear before the title is properly signed over, recovering your money is a slow and painful process. More importantly, counterfeit cashier's checks are a major tool used against sellers. So if a seller is unfamiliar with the scam and nervous about accepting yours, don't be offended if they want to verify it at the issuing bank first. That is actually a smart seller. Offer to go with them. It protects both of you and gets the deal done cleanly. Payment apps, Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, are convenient, but they offer essentially no buyer protection. Once the money is sent, it is gone. If you use one, do it with the person physically in front of you, confirmed on their verified account. Don't send money to a username you can't independently verify. The cleanest option for a large private party transaction is to complete it inside a bank. Both parties go in, the funds transfer is handled by a teller, and everyone walks out with what they came for. It takes a little more coordination, and it's worth every minute. Paperwork and DMV. The sale is done. Money changed hands. Now the paperwork matters, and a lot of buyers drop the ball here because the exciting part is over, and this feels like admin. But getting this wrong can cost you.
Real quick, if you're getting anything valuable out of this video so far, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and subscribe. It helps push this video out to more people who may be one bad car deal away from getting burned. Here on the Wheelwise Guy channel, I give real auto wisdom that's actually applicable to your everyday life, whether you're buying, selling, maintaining, or avoiding costly mistakes. Now, let me get back to it. The seller signs the title over to you at the time of sale. Not tomorrow, not when they get around to it, right then. Fill in the date, the purchase price, and the odometer reading. Both parties sign. You keep the title. Write up a bill of sale as well. The year, make, model, VIN, price, date, both names and signatures. Even if your state doesn't require it, this is your paper trail. Here's why this matters. Until that title is in your name, you are in a gray zone. You paid for the car, but legally, it still traces back to the previous owner. If there are unpaid tickets, an outstanding lien, or any legal issue tied to that vehicle that surfaces before you transfer it, you are now caught in the middle of someone else's problem. And from your own side, if you get into an accident driving a car that isn't yet registered in your name, your insurance situation gets complicated fast. Don't let it sit. Get to the DMV within a few days, get the title into your name, update the registration, and make sure you're properly insured from the moment you drive it off. In many states, you can now start the title transfer process online. Check your state's DMV website. Either way, don't wait. The faster you close that loop, the better protected you are. More scams to know. A few more to know before we wrap up. Fast ones. The off-platform move. Seller asks you to text them directly outside of Marketplace or Craigslist. It's easier, they say. What they mean is, there's no record. Stay on the platform. All communication stays logged. The bait and switch. You agree on a price online. You show up. Suddenly, there's a new problem they just discovered, and the number changed. Or that car isn't available, but they have something similar. Leave. The curbstoner. A private seller who is actually an unlicensed dealer. They flip multiple cars. They know exactly what's wrong with each one, and they have no obligation to disclose any of it the way a licensed dealer would. Watch for one person selling several cars at a time with vague or rotating addresses. The fake escrow service. If you're selling a car and a buyer insists on using an escrow service they provide a link for, it's fake. The site looks real. The transaction looks processed. It isn't. Use only escrow services you find independently. The overpayment scam. A buyer sends a check for more than agreed and asks you to refund the difference. The check is fake. Always. And the shipping scam, which works the same as the deposit scam. They'll ship you a car, they just need money up front. There is no car. There is no shipment. There is only a payment they're waiting for you to send. Private party car buying is one of the best ways to get a solid vehicle at a fair price. The people selling are mostly just regular folks who want to move on from a car and get paid fairly for it. But the ones who aren't will count on you being in a hurry, being excited, or simply not knowing what to look for. Now you do. Verify the listing, bring someone with you, run the VIN, get the inspection, check the title, handle payment safely, and get to the DMV before the week is out. Do those things and you are miles ahead of most buyers out there. Good luck, and go find yourself a great car.